here we are. In just a minute, we're going to talk to Nick from Nick's Right Podcast, which is a local DFW podcast that is one of the staples. Like Kaylee Campbell, like Alex Stein, they're one of the staples in DFW, and I'm honored to have Nick on in just a minute on the show. Then we're going to also get into an Islamic schools under state investigation, and it's for good reasons. We have a couple of Islamists that have been freed by ICE because of a judge. I want to tell you about that. Gene Wu, I told you about his son being out of control, violent, according to the allegations, and having a knife in school, according to reports from Texas Scorecard. I believe it was a Dallas Express. And then Dallas librarians are talking about their story, but there's a real big thing I want to hit on libraries in general. But first, this show is brought to you by IRSprob.com, helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning strategy. Randy Martin's been my CPA for over 8 years for my business, my wife's business, and he's a dear friend. So IRSprob.com, as he likes to say. And now let's go to Nick from Nick's Right Podcast. We're not allowed to know your last name. We're not asking your last name. There's two Nicks on the podcast.
Yeah, two Nicks. And Nick is the other Nick, not me, but he has a full-time job. We both have full-time jobs. Mine's just a little bit more flexible than his. So if we could have been in the studio to do this, that would have been way better. But, we try to get out and do what we can. I am the main host of Nick's Right Podcast. I'm kind of the one-man show. Nick is an incredible talent. He's a great writer, and he's a great personality to have on, and him and I are very close. We're brothers. Not literal brothers, but we're brothers. We're best friends. We're business partners. And so him and I have great banter. And so I'm like, when we argue, this is pretty entertaining. We should probably try to monetize on this. And so I had the idea of Nick's Right Podcast, and he liked it. So I went out and started doing the legwork.
How long's it been?
We started Nick's Right Podcast actually a year ago this month.
Wow. Well, congratulations on your success. I think you guys are doing very well. And I think it shows. People that I talk to know who you guys are for obvious reasons, for good reasons. You do a great show. You do hyper local. You'll do national stuff. You and I were talking before the show that the biggest thing you've ever done that you never think would blow up was about your horrible experience at a Toyota dealership in Dallas Fort Worth.
Richardson, Toyota Richardson.
Toyota Richardson. Okay, how many millions of views did that get, my brother?
Currently sitting at 2.6 million of just the bad experience. Like whenever I walked out and I said, no, I'm going to let everybody else know. I just whipped out my phone. It's a bad experience whenever you are like so motivated to get to your car and you don't even get to your car because you're so motivated to tell everybody, don't shop here. And that's exactly what I did. And 2.6 million views. I finally got into a car that I absolutely love, and I went to Longo Toyota Prosper. So go to Longo Toyota Prosper and ask for Tony Bailey.
There you go. That's excellent. Tony needs to start paying you, my brother, for that.
Believe me, I did a shout-out video for him, and it did pretty well. About 130,000 views.
He needs to send you a paycheck.
He said that he was having trouble keeping up with all the referrals.
You need a freaking discount on your Toyota.
No, he did. He gave me I have 3 stipulations whenever I go shop for a car. 1, you're going to let me take it to my mechanic. 2, you're going to let me use my outside financing, which is my credit union. And 3,
me too.
You're going to come down off the price. Those are not uncommon things. And the first people, they didn't want to do any of that, and they tried to jack up the price like $9,000. So whenever I went to Tony at Longo Toyota Prosper, when I asked the first question, can I take to my mechanic? He's like, you can do whatever you want. We just want to earn your business. And I was like, wow, I've never been treated like royalty. And I bought a lot of cars over my life. I've never been treated like royalty from a dealership ever. And I wasn't in that dealership for more than 20 minutes. Like we did everything with the phone. He found the car. I took the car to the mechanic. And then whenever I went and signed all the paperwork, 20 minutes in and out, had my car.
That's 20 minutes. So yeah, you did all the work before you went in.
Oh yeah,
really?
Like he communicated me via text message because it was right in the middle of the snowstorm. They had a car on the lot that I really wanted, and he took it off the website. Like they're like, if you want this, we'll take it off the website. We'll let you take it to your mechanic. And if it, because those kind of things you can change. Like if they take it off the website, they can always put it back on.
Right, of course, of course.
It's so when dealerships act like they can't do something because of policy, then you get to the person who can change the policy.
That's exactly right. I read a book. My brother got this book in a junior college. We went to the same junior college because he went to college and had to come back. And so he was going for his first 2 years. I was there too. He's about a year and a half, 2 years older than me. And he got a book from one of his business classes from Herb Cohen called You Can Negotiate Anything. And I read it. It riveted me. It made me feel smart. And then years later, I was teaching. We homeschooled our kids who are now in college. One just graduated from UT Dallas. The other one is in the middle of school, going to go to one of the other. No, it's okay. One of the other local schools. But I read it again when I taught at the co-op that we used to attend. I taught a class on it, and the kids, I had a whole thing about, you're going to live in a van down by the river if you don't listen to me. And but anyways, I taught them Herb Cohen, You Can Negotiate Anything, and he talked about the power of legitimacy. There's a sign that they point to. There's a sign, or it's printed. That's the power of legitimacy. And look at the sign; it just says this, or the print says that. There's nothing I can do. Like you said, there is always somebody who can change. Now, the focus, and you don't strike me. I mean, who knows what it's like when this camera goes off, what Nick really does. Dun, dun, dun. But you don't strike me as somebody who'd be a jerk. And the key is, because some people go in there like a jerk, the key is you want win-win-win for everybody. You want them to win, you want you to win, but you also want to get the best stuff for you. So there's a way of doing it, and it's not being a jerk.
Exactly. No, I actually live by that philosophy. Like, how can we get a win-win-win scenario? And that's why I always, like, before they want me to come in, I'm going to ask those questions. Can I do this? Can I do that? And I did ask them, like, can I take it my mechanic? And they're like, yeah, you can do that. But whenever I went in,
I will never in my life purchase a car without my mechanic's blessing.
Exactly.
And I don't understand people who don't do that. And if you pay
I've been told by
$100,
other dealership salesmen, they're like, if they don't let you take it to your mechanic, then they're hiding something.
Like, I would never.
Like other dealerships.
I don't care what the car looked like or what I felt about it. The first thing I did with both of my cars that are sitting in my driveway before I bought them was to take them to my mechanic. Take it home. They let you take it home for the weekend if they're good too. And I took it to the mechanic. And
I haven't been able to get that. Like I like that, and I wish I can find a dealership that'll let me take it home for the weekend just to see if I like it or not. But they stopped doing that, dude.
I know one. They were one of my sponsors. They're considering being one of my sponsors again, so they will be not mentioned until they come back on, which they might.
Okay,
actually.
All right. You're like, nope, not giving any free shout outs.
Stand by. I rarely give a free. They say I'm cheap and easy, but I'm not cheap.
No, dude, I'm with you. Like we had a sponsor that Nick brought on, and I'm not going to say the name, but he promoted it for 2 weeks. And I'm like, look, we haven't gotten anything out of this. Like we can't keep promoting somebody who hasn't paid for it. Like we have an audience. No, we built that audience.
Right.
Like, so no, we're not going to promote them.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. So let's get into some local stuff. Again, Nick's Right Podcast. Love your hyper-localism, and you do national stuff too, which we'll get into some stuff with the Iranian war and stuff. But Jazzy Crockett, this was huge. She literally, Jazzy, she literally
I could do a whole book.
blamed 2 entities. She chose a felon with 7 arrests on his rap sheet, many of them felonies, including the handgun he had on his possession when he was shot and killed. He had a stolen handgun. He had stolen naval plates, according to reports from the Navy. He lied and said he was a Capitol Police officer or special something police. He actually said something like special something or other police, and it was literally, he was trying to impersonate what my dad was years ago. He was a cop in Chicago, then he was a Federal Protective Service officer. They protect dignitaries. This idiot came up with this fake dignitary thing. So Jazzy hires a guy, she said, I believe in second chances. This was his 8th or 9th chance. She hired a thug or a career criminal. And so she blamed the Capitol Police and Congress for not screening the guy that she hired with 7 freaking felonies. She hired him and blamed Capitol Police because they didn't vet him when she knew darn well. How much you want to bet sorry, I'm going on a monologue without letting you talk.
You're good. You're good.
How much you want to bet? They said something. He was doing stuff with his church too. How much you want to bet he goes to the same race hustle church of Friendship West, Baptist Church, Freddie Haynes, yes, sir, where she goes. All right, go ahead.
I have no
talk.
doubt. When it comes to Jasmine, what's baffled me so much, I'm not against a woman running for Congress. I'm not against it. What I am against is women
I'm just
voting.
kidding.
I'm against women voting. I know that kind of contradicts itself.
You are not against women. Get out of here.
I am against women voting.
You are not serious that you're...
Only because whenever women vote or women have the opportunity to vote, it's the majority of white liberal women that vote, which is why it swings in those liberal states to liberality. And so if we took away the woman vote, and I know a lot of conservative women that would give up their vote that just so the white liberal women can't vote because they know how detrimental it is.
The awfuls, the affluent white liberal women, you mean? Can I share something something I just read today? This is from a group called thirdway.org, The Truth About Democrat Primary Voters. And who are they? Here we go. Because they're talking about people that spend time on X or Blue Sky. You might assume folks that will choose the Democrat nominee for president will be activists, college students, self-described Democrat socialists, blah, blah, blah. 61% female, 38% male are the Democrat primary voters, 65% white, 35% non-white, 60% non-college, 40% college educated, 55% are 55 and older, only 12% are under 30. Talk to me about your reaction to that when we talk about that.
So I think I just stand by my statement. Like, there's a reason why. When me and Nick are on the podcast and we're doing reaction videos to these women, not just liberal women, just women in general, because if you talk to actual common sense women, Republican women or just conservative women, they will admit to you women are emotional.
Yes.
They're not logical. They're emotional creatures, which God made them that way. They're nurturers. But when you make decisions based on emotion, you tend to over-emote and make the wrong decision based on your emotions and passion instead of logical reasoning. So therefore, that's what I stand by. Because all the numbers you just said can be boiled down to they're too emotional.
So,
and don't get me wrong, I'm an emotional guy. I can be emotional, but I can also take a step back and be like, okay, let's see what's the logical here. Let's solve the problem. Guys have way more problem-solving skills than women do. Now, I'm not saying women, and I'm talking about women as piss off
so many women today.
I know, and don't get me wrong, I love women. I love women to death. They are God.
Yeah, you love them in the kitchen and barefoot in the bedroom.
I will say that a woman can cook better than I can, but I've gotten pretty good at cooking.
Oh, so you want to make you a sandwich in the kitchen?
If they do it better than me, then yes. But if I do it better, I'm going to be the one cooking. Okay?
Yeah, exactly.
I'm the one that's better at it. I'm not going to let a woman cook for me that can't cook.
That's great.
But that's not a big thing for me when it comes to cooking. Like, I'm just saying it comes down to emotion. They think with their emotions. Now, you're going to find a diamond in the rough when it comes to a logical thinking woman. They're out there. I've met them. I'm friends with some of them who actually can think about logic and rationality and make a decision based on that. Those are very few and far between.
Let's get back to Jazzy, though. What's your reaction?
Oh, I thought we were talking
her?
About Jasmine. I'm sorry.
No, well, we still are. I guess. So you're saying that you want Jasmine Crockett in the kitchen cooking you, making you a sandwich. You want her not voting. I got it.
I didn't say that. But what I do
I'm sorry. You allegedly said that. I
allegedly said that. Yeah. What I will say is that I don't understand how Jasmine got to the position she's in. And then I did some research and there was no one opposing her whenever it comes to how she got her seat in the first place. Now, when someone started opposing her, instead of blaming her own party, she wants to blame the Republican Party for losing her seat or losing whatever the primary was. Guess what, Jazzy? Your party is the one to blame here. We wanted you to win.
Yes.
We wanted you to win that because we knew that you would lose in the actual election.
Yes.
And it would be a landslide win for us. So, no, the Republicans had nothing to do with that. Nothing at all.
Right. I call her a plane crash. I call her a plane crash. I have a little sound effect. Goes, so she would have been the plane crash. And that's what I love about her. She's our plane crash. But James Tallarico, let's shift to him because I actually think, listen, hold on. I think I think that Beto Hussein O'Rourke, the cultural appropriator, I call him Beto Hussein O'Rourke because he's like Obama. Beto Hussein O'Rourke, the cultural appropriator, the fake Mexican, I think that James Tallarico will do worse than Beto Hussein O'Rourke. And I think why is because he's got so many things. He's going to piss off any moderate Democrat who's a Christian or says they're a Christian, you know. He's going to piss off anybody, and he's going to piss off the black community because a large chunk of them ain't playing any of that gender crap, any of the trans crap.
Yeah.
So I think when all this comes out, once this race is over with, and I want Ken Paxton to win, I'm sure you do too.
I do.
If not, that's
yeah.
okay. We can talk about that. But I think that once this race is out, then you're going to see this man be exposed in ways that are so simple. It's like shooting fish in a barrel. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's not. We don't have to wait for him to be exposed. He's exposed.
Right.
He's trying to come out and say he's like this pastor or whatever, or maybe he is a pastor of this woke. I don't even understand how these woke churches are in Texas.
Yeah.
But they're here. He's a pastor of one of them. I grew up in ministry. My dad's a pastor. He's a pastor of a cowboy church. I was in ministry for 16 years as a worship leader.
Nice.
I can recognize a snake in the grass. This dude isn't a snake in the grass. He's just a snake.
Yes.
Because he's not hiding. He's not trying to hide. He's trying to basically, he's Joel Osteen on like acid because
Joel Osteen acid.
Yeah,
I love that.
Joel Osteen takes this stuff out of context, and he also sometimes tries to rewrite scripture to fit whatever he's trying to say because he preaches a prosperity gospel. This guy, he like the last thing I heard him say was the two pronouns are pronouns, the two words that are used to describe God or the Hebrew words.
Right.
One word is used to describe God is a masculine noun, and the one to describe the Holy Spirit is a feminine noun. And then he said, God's not binary. I'm like, how stupid can you be? And the thing is, he's
not
trying
stupid. He's not stupid.
I think he is.
He is not stupid.
Well, here's the thing. If he is intelligent, he's not doing it the right way because you could be far more intelligent and mislead people a far better way. And he's not. Because a common sense thinking Christian can look at those scriptures and say, you're out of your freaking mind. And then he tried to say, the book of Thomas says all these other things, and the book of Thomas was then later omitted from the Bible. The book of Thomas was never admitted into the Bible. Like, it never had a place.
Let me read you a scripture that is exactly who James Tallarico is, and I've read this before and all sorts of stuff. I got to go down to, I'll use the NASB, which is what my church uses. For the time will come.
That's what I study.
There you go. I'll even use NASB 1995 to get more with the times. For the time will come when they will not endure sound doctrine, but wanting to have their ears tickled, they will accumulate for themselves teachers in accordance with their own desires. Excuse me. People's ears are tickled. They love what he preaches because it's false doctrine. It's their beliefs. It's the culture that they're in. And so they want this. So they're like, oh, I have God's authority because trans is great and because this God's a woman. You know, and I know he lied about excuse me, I got a little allergy thing. He lied about Mary. Mary gave consent to the Holy Spirit or to the angel. Like
that's so stupid.
All you have to do is look it up. He did not. He said, "You will have a child. His name will be Jesus."
It was a command. Like you're going to do this.
Right. And so so the man is. But here's the problem. And when I tell listeners, and I tell podcast viewers and listeners and all that stuff, is what I'm going to say right here. The way, and it might sound backwards, but listen closely. The way, as my old pastor used to say, don't hear what I'm not saying. The way for people that are listening to you and me right now, who are watching us, to not be able to defend and stand up to James Tallarico is to not know our Bibles. The way for him to win is to not know our Bibles. Don't read that Bible.
Agree.
Don't know it, because that's how you can't defend it. And he looks like he's preaching the truth. So don't read it. You don't because you can't defend it, and let him win.
Yeah.
That's ignorance. That freaking Bible's sitting on collecting dust for so many people. And in China, you get killed for having that or worshiping. Go ahead, sir.
That kind of brings to mind one of the debates that he had, and he said, or anytime he tries to debate somebody, he says, "Isn't it written?" Well, those words are actually used by Satan whenever Satan was trying to tempt Jesus.
Yes.
All right. And he said, "Isn't it written?" But what Jesus said in return is, "It is written."
That's exactly right.
And so, yeah,
And
that's how
God
you debate
says,
somebody like that.
"Forever Thy word is settled in heaven." In his in Psalms, I believe it is. Now,
Hmm.
okay, so let's get into you. I was telling you before we went on the air that the actually, let me pause real fast. I'm going to do my little commercials for my sponsors. How's that? Real fast.
Go ahead, go
Okay.
ahead.
I'm gonna try to do a
Yeah.
master class here. Probably won't be, but I'm gonna try to do a master class. Let's start out with irsprob.com, irsprob.com. That's irsprob.com, helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, tax planning strategies. Randy Martin has been my CPA for over 8 years, and if you have IRS problems, you want to use him. If you need tax planning for your business, Randy is your guy. Look at Randy here when he was called up to speak at UT Austin, his alma mater, which is the best school for accountancy in the state of Texas. There he is with the youngins speaking to them, and here he is talking to them. I had the same privilege of being able to go and speak at my alma mater in Illinois to the Chirins and to people. And it's just precious. Randy's a good friend. He's a very good friend. If you have IRS problems, call 214-214-3000. That's 214-214-3000. Or go to irsprob.com, irsprob.com. And then Jim Dutton, the host of Texas Home Improvement for so many years, decades in North Texas and all over Texas, has a plumbing and foundation business that I'm sure you've heard about. Jim has done at Due West Foundation and Plumbing. Jim has done the plumbing on this house for 11 years. He replaced my water heater. He dug under my house and replaced 17 foot of pipes that went bad. Jim inspected my foundation, told me what I needed to do to keep it good when I bought the house, before I bought it, and did a static test. Every plumbing, everything is Jim Dutton. And here you go. Here it is to go. So, and by the way, don't hire a separate plumber from foundation, because he tells us this on Texas Home Improvement, that your plumber will blame the foundation guy will blame the plumber. Go to due-west.com. Oh, did I tell you my wife worked there for 3 years? Yes, we're very good friends with the family. du-west.com, or call 972-406-0912. If you want the best, call Due West. Let's go back to our friend Nick, who's been gracious and patient with my lengthy 30-second commercials, which are like a minute and a half long. It's like pros.
Dude, whenever I talk about our sponsors on our podcast, there was one day I went like 7 minutes.
Yes, exactly. You want, if you want a program director in talk radio's eyes to blow up and their head to blow up, you go longer than like a minute and a half on a live read. Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty
Getting
much.
back to this, so you drive Uber on the side, right, here and there,
I do.
and you had a guy that's Muslim get in the back of the car. What happened? Tell me about that.
So this guy gets in, and we connected because, when you're talking Uber, you're just talking freely, and you always try to kind of tread water, or
Yes.
step lightly, because you don't know exactly who these people are, and if they don't carry the conversation, then I don't have the conversation. But this guy was carrying the conversation. He said he was really upset because he keeps losing, or he can't find a job in tech. His industry is tech. And then he said, yeah, the Indians are just accepting all the low offers, so all the Indians are taking the jobs.
Wow. So
Yeah.
the Indian H-1B stories we've been talking about are keeping the Muslim guy. Now, is the Muslim guy American,
Yeah.
or is he naturalized?
I think he's a citizen. He's from Jordan. He had a thick Jordan accent.
Okay.
So I didn't know, and like he told me that before I knew he was Muslim, because whenever we were talking about the Indians, I'm like, oh yeah, and especially about this Islamic takeover. I said that not knowing he was Muslim.
Oh,
And
see,
then he actually had a conversation with me. I think he even tipped
good.
me. But we had a cordial conversation. It was
That's
quite
good.
nice. But
Very
I
important.
was able, yeah, I was able to have our questions asked. I asked him questions, and he asked me questions, and I told him this is what it says in the Quran when it comes to, Muhammad married a 6-year-old and consummated marriage at 9 years old. And then he had a rebuttal to that. I can't even remember exactly what he said, but when he was defending it,
Yes.
and before he defended, I was like, "Are you Muslim?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm Muslim." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then he continued the conversation,
Mhm.
and then he said, "Yeah, it's not good to consummate the marriage or to marry a 9-year-old, but if they're 10 and above, that's fine." I was like,
Wow.
my head
Wow.
started
Are
to
you
like
serious?
internally exploding, and I'm like,
Wow. Are
I
you
wish I was
serious?
on the pod. Right, I'm dead serious. Like
Wow.
he said, as long as they are 10 years or older, it's fine. Uh,
Wow.
so And I had to make a video on it. And when I'm out and about, my service isn't that good because I have freaking Spectrum. Spectrum sucks, by the way. And I couldn't like get it uploaded fast enough, because I want
Wow.
to tell people about this account. And this is what Islam is. Like I saw another video with God Logic, and he was trying to tell the person he was talking to, because they said it was tents, and then they talked to people randomly coming by,
Yeah.
and the guy was Islam, or the guy was Muslim, and God Logic said, "You want me to prove to you that you're better than Islam?" And he's like, "Oh, you can't do that." Or I'm sorry, no, he said, "You want me to prove to you that you're better than Muhammad, the prophet of Islam?" He's like, "Oh no, you can't do that, because they always say peace be upon him." I'm like,
Right.
for one, that could be a whole debate on its own.
Mm.
But when it comes to this guy saying you can't do that, the guy's like, so in the Quran it says this about 6 years old consummated the marriage at 9 years old. Do you think it's
Mm-hmm.
okay to consummate a marriage at 9 years old? He's like, well, it depends on the time. He's like, right now, do you think it's okay? He's like, no, no, no. And then he said, but back in the day that was different. And then it just paused and said, "This is Islam." And I
Yeah.
was like, yes, it is. And that just confirmed it. Whenever I was talking to this guy in the car, it confirmed it. I simply asked questions, and then I presented what my findings of what was in the Quran, and then he answered, and that's how he answered. And I was like, my gosh, I never thought I would actually hear those words in
Yeah.
person from a
That's
Muslim.
amazing.
Like I
That's
never thought that.
amazing.
Yeah.
How about the video you had that somebody sent you of a Muslim man who dropped off groceries for Walmart and then was praying on a prayer mat and his Muslim a prayer rug on the man's driveway, and
Hmm.
obviously that would be terribly frightening I mean, the guy was very sweet and nice after he came up from his prayers, but it would be terrifying to
Yeah.
see. So, like, what is this guy about to do a jihad on my house or something?
Exactly. Yeah. Well, no one wants to see, like, if they order something via a delivery app and then
Yeah,
that
get in, get out.
gets delivered, they expect the person to continue working. But Muslims, they have specific times of prayer that they do,
Right.
which is fine, but it does not give you a right, even if it's just on the edge of their property. It doesn't give you a right to sit down and pray
On his
like that.
property.
Now, yeah, it was on his property, and he could have moved like
What
literally
would
three
happen?
feet.
What would happen if you or I had our Bible and we're doing? I mean, I spend about 30 minutes every morning reading scripture and such.
Yeah.
What if I decided to do that and prayer time? What if I decided to do that on a Muslim person's yard without asking permission? Just we're doing that. That would be. I wonder what their reaction would be.
Well,
It's not
I
okay.
can.
Yeah. Go
It's
ahead.
not okay. Yeah, I can understand that they would probably be upset, and the guy who recorded, a medal needs to go to him. Like
Yes.
he was so calm,
He was.
cool, and
Yeah. He was
collected.
upset,
He
but he was calm.
represented Christianity very well.
Yeah. He wasn't rude.
He was very cordial. He wasn't rude, but he had the right to say, "Get off my land. You can't do that."
Right.
So many people came into my comment section saying, I mean, one person said, "This is why we all need dogs, because Islam doesn't believe in dogs."
Oh my
And I'm like,
gosh.
that's a good idea. And then some people said, "Oh, get the hose out, just spray them down with the hose.
Yeah.
That'll make
No.
them move." And like, I
No.
understand like when it comes to the ramification of doing something like that and wanted to say, "Oh, I'd get the hose out." But this guy handled it perfectly.
Yeah.
And
He
I
didn't.
think the
He
only
wasn't
other thing
rude.
that I would, no, he wasn't rude. I think the only thing, and if you really want to scare off Islam, you do it with scripture, you do it
Yeah.
with prayer, you do it with the name of Jesus. Because
Right.
guess what?
Right.
When it comes to how Islam was started, and I just watched a video on this from a pastor who's done a lot of research. There's two religions that claim the founders were visited by an angel of light.
Yeah. That
There are
would be
two of them. One of them,
Joseph Smith.
Mormonism and
Yeah.
Islam.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so two religions claim that. Well, there's only one angel in the Bible that's described as the angel of light, and
Satan.
that's Lucifer.
Right.
Yeah. And so if you correlate that to the other the other account, which is actually Muhammad's account, whenever he was visited by this angel of light,
Mm-hmm.
this angel of light made him feel like he was going insane. He made him feel like he was possessed. He didn't know what was going on. Well, I'm sorry. The Holy Spirit doesn't come with chaos. It comes with peace. Jesus doesn't come with chaos. He comes with peace.
He's the Prince of Peace.
So he's the Prince of Peace. So therefore, this is not a messenger of God, because God is the God of peace, not the God of chaos.
Or confusion. Yeah.
So
Now
Yeah.
with this Muslim man praying on the guy's property, on after he delivered the Walmart stuff, and in the Muslim guy's defense, he was wrong, of course, but in his defense, he
Yeah.
was sorry, da da da. But so, and this is the same thing we're going to segue in now to Wiley ISD.
Hmm.
East Wiley High having adult Muslims with a group called Why Islam. They're adult
Yeah.
proselytizers, professional
Yeah.
proselytizers, gaining entrance to Wiley East High. Nobody's been fired over it. They lie and they
No.
slap the wrist of some low level person in the front office.
Yeah.
When I will never be convinced that it was anybody except for the principal, Tiffany Doolin, who put that hijab
Hmm.
on World Hijab Day the year before and said she loved it
Yeah.
in all caps. She is the key to all of this, in my opinion. And
I
we're going
agree.
back.
I agree.
Patriots and I are all going back on March 24th to speak out because they've done nothing and had further Islamization of our schools, with an 8th grader on the same day passing out a Quran, candy, and a book about children with Islam, and saying and Arabic letters for tracing, saying, I want you to learn Arabic so you can
Yeah.
read the Quran together with me in the 8th grade classroom. We also saw at Cooper Middle School in Wiley High for Ramadan, adult women Muslims went in and served food for Ramadan to teachers in the teachers' lounge, passed out books and pamphlets about how
Yeah.
to teach Muslim kids. So,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
there's two, and from what I saw at the last Wiley ISD board meeting where the crap hit the fan is, and there was a video I did. I didn't do this, but I spoke out, and that thing went viral. Did you see that? I don't know if you saw it. It was insane.
Mm.
Libs of TikTok, Wall Street,
Oh.
all these accounts, and they took my thing. They cut it up from 2 minutes into 1 minute, and they had it all in different orders. And I'm
Yeah.
not saying they did this, and I said that I said Sharia treats women like cattle. These women are not cattle. So whoever
Yeah.
did the original cut of it bleeped out when I said cattle and said I was saying the S word. I'm like, what? This is insane.
Oh my
But-
gosh.
Anyways, but my point is this. It goes back to you saying I didn't do that to get viral or anything. I just did it because I wanted to do it. But
Right.
what I saw from the Muslim people that spoke out that night, and what I related back to the Muslim guy that was praying on the end of the driveway that you got that video of that you sent out and you did on your podcast, was they're either ignorant because they come from a third world country and they don't know better, or it's intentional with this elitist Islam to take over and to dominate like it does in Europe. And so
Yeah.
both are not good. My guess is the guy at the end of the driveway was ignorant, not some, try to take over the world thing from a third world country. So I
Yeah.
think they're either ignorant or intentional with nefarious intentions. What do you think?
Hmm. Oh, they're very intentional. And I don't know what the specific term of it is, but one of my followers saw that video of him praying, and they said, actually, that's a tactic that they do. That
Really?
if they pray over your property or on your
Oh.
property, they can later lay claim to it. And so this is an invasion. Like it absolutely is. And I'm absolutely certain that the invasion has to start with Texas. Now they're in Dearborn and they're in Minnesota. They're all over the place. And I believe the Brotherhood has called them in Dearborn, Michigan, and Minnesota, and they said, amp things up so the distraction happens, so where all the attention gets off of Texas. Because if they could take over Texas, Texas is a strategic stronghold. If they take over Texas, they can take over the U.S. Because the economy of Texas is so prevalent to the economy of the U.S. that if Texas was taken away from the economy of the U.S. would fall. The
I don't
US
think
would
it's
crumble.
economic. I think it's political. If there is a strategy, I'm not sure
It's
there's a
political
strategy.
and it's militarial is what it is. It's political and military. So if I had to really, really say it, because another vet that was in my car as an Uber driver, he said, Nick, I think there's another form here, or another, I guess you can say a layer that we're not considering, is if they can take down Texas, that has the biggest military force, the most individuals who have an arsenal, like if they could take down that kind of strength, that means they can take down the rest of the U.S.
I
And
personally
so,
think
like, it is strategic, if you ask me.
I look at it from strictly political.
Okay.
I look at it as if the electoral college votes of Texas fall to Democrats, it's over.
Oh, absolutely.
I also look at what we cannot deny is the Islamization of Germany, France, and England, for example. They will become Islamic states. It might not be for another 20 years. All you have to do is look at the birth rate of the secularist, humanist,
Yeah.
people in those countries, having one child, many of them out of wedlock. The way to destroy a country is to have no more marriage, no more God at the head of the household, the man at the head of the household in a godly way, and
Yeah.
having children. And Islamists are let in, a million of them in Germany, I think it was, in a year or two or three, from third
Hmm.
world countries that where Islam is the rule, the law, Sharia, etc.
Yeah.
And then they get no go zones. They take you got. I mean it is it's bad. On the same
Yeah.
token, this is America. We can't stop people to coming into this country because they're from a certain faith. The spigot, though, must be tight, and the selection, like a Donald Trump style selection. Do you hate this
Yeah.
country? Do you despise this country? All sorts of stuff to figure out that we need to be able to have if we're going to bring people in
Yeah.
from certain countries, and the amount is insane. Anyways, go ahead.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you're right. It is going to be political because they're trying to infiltrate via local political systems. And that's why you see what's happening in Wiley, Texas, what's happening in Frisco, Texas, what's happening in Prosper, Texas, what's happening in Salina, Texas. And they're infiltrating, and it goes as small as infiltrating communities, and they're infiltrating the HOA. HOAs are the freaking mafia, dude. I don't understand how HOAs have all of this freaking authority over your house. Like, I
Well,
never understood it.
I disagree. I think people sign a document that says that, and if they want to get into that, that's their decision. That's just my stance, though.
No, it's a good stance. It still doesn't make sense why these people have this kind of authority over your property. Now, if you're giving them that authority, like
That's
you
right.
said, that's a different
They
story.
choose to move
But
there.
it's so it does. But anyway, I digress.
Yeah.
When it comes to the HOAs, like that's where I feel like they're trying to infiltrate and start. Other than going to local government like your city council and your, because there's actually Muslims and Indians that are on city council in these smaller cities, Salina, Prosper, Garland, Frisco, all these.
Well, let me ask you:
Plano,
are you saying that Muslims shouldn't be allowed? And are you saying Muslims shouldn't be allowed to be in office? Are you saying that Indians shouldn't be able to be allowed in office if they're Americans?
When it comes to if they're actually assimilated, then no, they can absolutely take
Right.
office. But what they have to do, and I actually got reposted by Trump for something I posted about Oklahoma. Oklahoma is implementing a test for incoming teachers from other states.
Good.
To make sure that they're an America First teacher.
Good.
And so we need to implement that same kind of test.
Yes.
Now the thing is, these religions they're gonna lie, but at least we'll have some kind of viability test to see if we can like ask them these questions or have them answer these questions and see what they answer. Because I believe that the inerrant soul of a man wants to be honest. You know what I mean? And so, like, if they're taught to lie, taqiyya is a situation when it comes to Muslims. Like, they're actually
you can
taught
lie
to lie
if it's in furtherance. You can lie if it's in furtherance of the religion. Right.
Exactly. Right. Now, I've had Muslims come in my DMs and they say that's not what that means, and I'm like, then tell me what it means, and they'll say only if it's to protect themselves, like a self-defense type of thing. And I'm like, I think you need to study the Quran a little bit more. Right. But this is coming from people who have lived in these cultures. Like I've heard the people who have lived in these cultures in Iran and where it's the Islamic Republic, and they're saying, no, this is how it is. And you can look back to history. Islam, they go and conquer. Okay, it can be, and they take advantage of Christian nations or other nations that are more welcoming.
Look at it was let me think of his name again. I think it was Churchill, if I'm not mistaken, who went and visited an Islamic country and said the truth. And he said, I can't remember the exact words how it was, but basically it's like a religion is in control of everything here. It's brutal, it's horrible, it's this and that and that. Yeah. And there was a man on the steps of English courthouse that read the words of Churchill, and he got arrested for it because they've allowed Islamists to come in and take over the country. Let's get into your quick comments. I know you only have about 8 minutes. Let's get into Epic City, which is now called the Meadows, the Islamic city from East Plano Islamic City. Gee, if it's called Epic City, that means it's an Islamic city, which they're trying to lie and say it's not, which we all know it was, marketing materials. Right. And then the other one, C Holding LLC, which is the Sustainable City USA, which many of us think is going to be a Muslim-centric. I mean, they built 4 or 5 other cities. Yes, they've Coffin County. They've built 4 or 5 other cities, and they're all in Muslim countries, and they all have mosques in the middle of them. And yet we're supposed to believe, and I think everybody that runs C Holdings LLC and the company itself or whatever is Muslim from Muslim countries, and so it's like
Hmm.
you're going to build a
Hmm.
city and it's not a Muslim city. I mean, we think we're stupid, and I think they're doing it in
Yeah.
Cawthon, and I think they're doing that big city out in rural Collins/Hunt because they know they can roll over these people in small communities with
Right.
line the pockets of politicians in small communities.
Well, they're doing that because that is where they can start. They can start in these smaller cities, these smaller towns. They know that if they try to go to, Dallas or Fort Worth or even some of the mid cities of Grapevine,
Yes,
South Lake, where it's predominantly like American,
right.
they know that they can't get in as easy because we're not going to be like people. I want to switch gears on you. People are moving from these other cities that they love, Frisco, Plano, whatever. They're moving away from these cities because they're trying to get away from the problem.
Right.
And that is actually going into the Muslims or Islam's favor because you're just relinquishing control over to them. Because they're going to come in and they're going to take your place and they're going to bring like five other families with them. That's also like here's the other thing that people are not considering. Muslims and Indians don't like each other. Yet they're warring.
There's a very small Muslim, or like maybe 3 to 5%, maybe 7% Muslim population in India. As you know, there's probably 2%, 1 to 2%, maybe
Yeah.
3% Christian. The rest are all what is it? Hindu.
Hindu.
Hindi.
Yeah, yeah. And I got a message from a follower of mine who is Christian,
Uh-huh.
and she tried to give me an understanding of Hindus have more freedom in America than Christians do in
Yes.
India.
Oh, okay. And
Like,
this is what pisses me off about people just attacking Indians. Because the idea of an Indian invasion. There's one thing with illegal housing scams going on, like that viral
right.
video, that awesome woman who follows me. I follow her. I can't remember her name now, but I think it's
Sarah
Kelly.
Gonzalez.
Oh, no, not her. No. This is a private
Oh,
woman
okay.
who went in and spoke at the Frisco City Council. And there's a
Oh, yeah,
realtor.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And she said that, she was became alarmed to see Indian folks that will rent apartments and then they will just sublet it forever and not put it on the market. And they give to people, they rig it so that nobody can ever get a chance at getting in the housing and
Yeah,
dominate it, which is
yeah.
illegal. Same thing with purchasing houses. So I agree with her.
Hmm.
I'm 100% on that, regardless. But I have a dear Indian friend over at my church who's a Christian, and some people, like who's the guy who's incredible from Flower Mound? What's his name? The congressman. I love the guy. I can't remember his name now. He's Brandon something.
Oh, Brandon Gill.
Yes, I love him.
Yeah.
His wife is Indian, and there was a picture of him in Indian garb with his wedding, and people trying to say when he said something about Islam, well, look at you. Just because you wear Indian clothes doesn't mean you're not a Christian. That is not a
Right.
religion
Right.
thing. And so I have a dear friend from India that is an American, and sometimes they or some other people that go to my church, First Baptist Dallas, wear Indian garb. They're dyed-in-the-wool Christians. It's a culture thing.
Right.
Number
Right.
two, my friend taught me that I didn't know about this, like you're saying, that people are killed for being Christian in like if you have a charity, he has a Christian charity that he founded in India. And
Yeah.
he goes once a year, twice a year to visit it and be part of it. And he says the checks that go there, they purposely delay them for 3 or 4 months. Everything is designed to hurt Christianity from spreading,
Yeah.
to hurt Christian ministries. And then also he showed us a video when he came back one time to our men's Bible study at First Dallas of a pastor in India who was butchered. He had 3 of his limbs cut off. And this is the
Wow.
violence is predominantly in the rural villages. And then he and his wife and kids, for the first time, he brought them with the kids when they were a little bit older, and he literally thought they were stopped at a checkpoint. He thought they were going to kill him. They literally were praying for their
Yeah.
lives because it's that hostile. Like you were, So that's what pisses me off when people want to talk about, Indian invasion, any of this. What the hell are you going to tell my friend? You want to go to downtown Dallas? You want to go to Dallas, First Baptist Dallas, and tell my friend Binu that he's a fraud?
Yeah.
He needs to get out of this country. Kiss my butt.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I'm not defending
Here's
what's going on, but go ahead.
No. Here's because I just got recognized at my gym, and it's someone who's been going there for a while. She's known me for a while, but she finally came across my content, and she looked at me and was like, "Hey, you have a podcast?" And I was like, "Yes." Her name is Para, and she's from India, and she's like, "Nick, everything you're saying is true." And I was like, "Great, you want to come on the podcast?" And then I asked her, like, "So, what's your religion?" Because she said she came from India, and she still had a pretty thick accent. She's like, "Oh no, I've accepted Christ." And I was like,
Wow.
and I gave her a high five.
Right.
So here's one thing I want to leave you guys because I know we're about to wrap up here.
Yeah.
When it comes to this Muslim
No,
takeover
you
and
don't
this
leave
Indian
me.
takeover,
I leave you. That's what I tell callers. Like, I got to go. I'm like, no, you don't have to go. I have to go. Go ahead. Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
well, one thing I want to leave everyone with is the most potent weapon that you have is Jesus. That's the most potent weapon. You want to fight this? Pray for them. It says in the word to pray for your enemies. Like that. That's what it says. It's just to pray for your enemies because they can't stand up to that. They can't stand up to the name of Jesus. If they're led by Lucifer, like we've proven that they are, guess what? He has no authority over the name of Jesus.
You
Like
know,
that is our number one weapon that we have is prayer and that the Holy Spirit resides in us and the power of the speaking of the name of Jesus. Like that's powerful.
well, Nick, I appreciate you. It's been a joy to get to know you off the air, on the air, etc. And I know you got your podcast coming up a little later. Where can people follow you at? How do people find you?
I appreciate that, man. Nick's Right Podcast across the board. If it's on X, it's just Nick's Right Pod.
Okay, very good. I appreciate you, brother, and have a good show for yourself tonight. Okay.
You as well, Ryan. I appreciate you having me on.
You got it. Absolutely. Anytime. Look forward to another time. Okay, there he goes. And I got a whole show to get into right now. Nick's Right Podcast. That was fun. I enjoyed it. Hope you did too. I got a whole bunch of things here. Let's do this. I promised this in the headline. State agency investigating Islamic tied charter school. TEA is a Texas education agency, said it's opening investigation into Manara Academy after allegations of prohibited instruction materials. You're going to hear what this is in a second. This is very important. The Manara Academy, and they're in Dallas-Fort Worth. They have campuses in Irving and Arlington, offering pre-K to 12th grade. This is from Texas Scorecard today. In 2024, it was reported that Qatar, a.k.a. Qatar Foundation International, shared a photo of a map in a Maranara Academy classroom that labeled Israel as Palestine. There are classes, and there are schools, Islamic schools, which would be a madrasa, like they have in Pakistan, etc. 3 campuses of this academy. It was reported that Qatar Foundation shared a photo of a map in their academy classroom, labeled it as Palestine. What that means is from the river to the sea. What that means is 8.9 million Jews slaughtered. That's what that means. That means there's no such thing as Israel. That means they think it's occupied land. That is a freaking madrasa that is radicalizing children in our own country, in our own state of Texas, in our own area of Dallas-Fort Worth. This place needs to be shut down. TEA is rightfully investigating them. And by the way, Qatar, a.k.a. Qatar, depending on how you want to pronounce it, sponsors tons of things, billions and billions of dollars of oil money they spend at our universities to radicalize our students to hate Israel, to hate America, to hate Jews. That's Qatar. More than a year ago, the academy announced Sheikh Yusuf Bakir, then a youth director for Valley Ranch Islamic Center, as its new chaplain. I'm shocked, a Muslim chaplain. He mentors Muslim youth and helps them develop a deeper understanding of their faith. He holds an Ijaza in Quran, is pursuing advanced degrees in Islamic studies and chaplaincies. They talks about Sheikh has a valuable resource for the Muslim community, but the chaplaincy services provided are for, quote, all students using non-denominational approach. This is a Muslim school pretending to be a regular charter school or regular academy, whatever you want to call it. Absolutely. Now, I have a friend who I mentioned from time to time, Eric Erickson. He's a brilliant writer, also a radio guy as well. And he talked about, he grew up in Saudi Arabia. His father must have been in engineering, oil, or something, I don't know. But he grew up, I think it was in Saudi Arabia, and his school showed Palestine there. It didn't show Israel, the same thing, in a Muslim country. This is being taught in a freaking Dallas-Fort Worth school. Thank God the TA is investigating. Shut them down if it's found out to be true. Also, regarding radical Islam, DHS arrests Afghan given asylum by Biden and accused of sex crimes. DHS arrested an Afghan national. This is one of the 100,000 plus Afghan nationals I've told you over the years about those that when Joe Biden flew them over and when they were clinging to the plane and falling off the plane, and that disgusting, horrific collapse, and triumphant failure, massive failure, a triumph of failure when we pulled out of Afghanistan, and we never should have. We could have left 5,000 to 10,000 soldiers in Bagram Air Force Base, which is a state-of-the-art billion-dollar base, and from that, we could have even left just 2,500 soldiers there. There's a jail there. We had all these Al-Qaeda and ISIS people. They were all set free because of Joe Biden. In fact, one of the guys they set free 3 days later blew up and killed our soldiers, and everybody else, that Abbey Gate bombing. That was Joe Biden that did all of that. We could have kept Bagram. It's literally very close to China, and state-of-the-art $1 billion base that we could operate out of for Afghanistan, for Iran, and we could have just gone beyond over the wire with guys to strike when Al Qaeda or ISIS or whatever was popping up here or there. Do a lightning ray and come right back behind the wire. That's how it could have been forever, and that's how it should have been. Anyway, so instead, Biden flew in, over 100,000 Afghanis. There was a Afghan man that was caught. One of them was raped one of our soldiers. I believe they gang raped, or one of the guys raped one of our soldiers in the New Mexico/Texas base. One of the guys had 2 wives that were like child brides. I mean, it's just disgusting what Joe Biden did to this country with that. So DHS arrested one of those Afghan Biden nationals who was welcomed in under Operation Allies Welcome. He was arrested in 2023 in Jacksonville, Florida, for lewd or lascivious exhibition, soliciting a child via computer, unlawful use of a two-way communications device, and child abuse. Quote, this unvetted Afghan pedophile was led into our country by Biden. He should never have been allowed into our country or given the opportunity to prey on innocent children, says DHS. Operations Allies Welcome was a Biden-era parole program that let thousands of unvetted Afghan nationals, including terrorists, sexual predators, pedophiles, domestic abusers, and kidnappers into our country, Breitbart reported. From the Dallas Express, tactical gear, gun, Iraqi-born naturalized citizen, like all the other terrorists in Austin, at Old Dominion, in West Bloomfield, Michigan, at the Jewish synagogue that was attacked by that Lebanon Hamas guy whose brother was a Hamas commander. Here we have another naturalized citizen from Baghdad entering Klein, an elementary school in Klein, which is suburban Houston, with a handgun and tactical gear. Here's the story out of Houston that you have to hear.
What we've learned is that on Tuesday, a parent was leaving Zwink Elementary School right here and did not fully latch that door behind them. And so then 39-year-old Kyle Chris was able to sneak in behind them in just a 15-second period. So Chris was dressed in full tactical gear. And according to court records, he was armed with both a handgun and a taser. Now, Chris allegedly told police he was a security guard, but prosecutors revealed today that he is unemployed and is not a licensed guard or peace officer. Now, I spoke with the district about the 24-hour delay in notifying parents, and they tell me it was a tactical decision. They were working with both the FBI and DPS to keep Chris under constant surveillance. They say tipping off the public could have tipped off the suspect and jeopardized the arrest. The arrest did happen at his home just 4 minutes from the school.
It's alleged this 39-year-old defendant entered an elementary school dressed in tactical gear, armed with a taser, as well as a handgun. He fled quickly when asked for identification. This defendant is not a licensed peace officer or security guard. We ask you to order this defendant not to return to Zwink Elementary School in spring, especially not to go to any schools in the Klein Independent School District.
It was very scary. It is very scary. But I do, my daughter's in first grade, and I totally feel like she is safe here at the school. I mean, this is her second year here, and we always have a police officer on campus, and and everybody seems very personable. So it worried me, it scared me, because I know there is crazy people out there.
If Chris manages to post that $75,000 bond, he won't be walking free. He'll be under 24-hour house arrest with a GPS monitor.
That's not very comforting. This is from the Dallas Express. He came here from Baghdad. He was charged with unlawful carrying of a weapon, prohibited place, held on $75,000 bond. He slipped through the front entrance after someone had left in full tactical gear with a firearm. During this encounter, the defendant was dressed in full green military or tactical law enforcement style attire, which included an exterior load-bearing vest, as well as a taser and holstered firearm. He entered the school building wearing a tactical style clothing and a holstered firearm. Guy's a naturalized citizen from Iraq. Why are we letting these people stay here? Get them out. You know what he could have done with that firearm with those kids? It's just unbelievable. All right, let's go to another person. This is an Islamist named, she's been celebrated. The media loves to hump her leg and praise her. An Islamist who should not be in this country, should never have been allowed in this country. Lika Cordia, released today from North Texas ICE facility after more than a year in detention. She should still be there right now because she's a radical Islamist. March 13, 2025, HSI, Homeland Security Investigations, arrested Lika Corda for immigration violations related to overstaying her expired student visa. She's an illegal Islamist, radical Islamist. Previously, on April 2024, Cordia was arrested by local law enforcement for her involvement in a pro-Hamas protest at Columbia University in New York City. She was also found to be providing financial support to individuals living in nations hostile to the U.S. The facts of this case have not changed. Lika Cordia is in the country illegally after violating the terms of her visa. Absolutely. Kick her out of here. Get her out of here. Deport her butt. They're going through the hearings before they deport her, but that judge will order her released. And literally, like Channel 8, WFAA, all the liberal media is humping her leg and saying how awesome. She's free. This Jew-hating Hamas supporter is free. Sickening. Here's another one. As you know, Mahmoud Khalil, Columbia University leader of the terrorist supporters and Hamas supporters, and he is a Hamas supporter, who lied on his documentation to be allowed in with a student visa about who he was employed with. He was employed with UNRWA, which is a Jew-hating, terror-supporting organization, UN World Relief, UN World Relief Association, wherever they are. They were embedded with and helping Hamas murder, kill, rape Jews, and supporting them. He is a member of UNRWA. He lied on his application. That's one of the and also he was leading the terrorist supporters and Hamas supporters and spreading Hamas propaganda, including Hamas leaflets, out to people. And here he is at South by Southwest getting his leg humped.
So many Palestinian factions around me, but they were not interested in that as a whole. And as Bahir said, it's very racist to ask a Palestinian this question just to validate their views, because I don't see them asking any Israeli or American politician about condemning all the killing that's happening, whether in Lebanon, in Palestine, in Iran, anywhere. So that sort of like hypocrisy and double standards that's being used against us, I refuse to be part of that, and I would never answer such a question in just like a 20-second sound bite, just for them, like to say, oh, he's like, we pushed him, he said that, we pushed him, he did not say that, and then he is Hamas sympathizer or whatever. Or the other part about just...
Anyway, so he says it's racist at South by Southwest to ask a Palestinian to condemn Hamas. It's racist to ask a Palestinian to say that raping Jews, kidnapping them, gang raping them, cutting their breast off, and playing with it like a softball and throwing it on the ground should be condemned. It's racist to condemn the kidnapping, the murder of 46 American Israelis as well, and treating them subhuman conditions, starving them to death like a Holocaust survivor, having them dig their own graves. It's racist to ask them to condemn that. So he is an Islamist terrorist supporter, Hamas supporter who needs to be deported, and eventually he will be, but he needs to get his butt out. I wish he was never allowed free, and how the left loves to hump his leg, don't they? Here is the here's a physical byproduct of the people that believe these things, hate Jews, love Hamas, love terrorists. Here is I've told you about these 2 Jews that were beaten down horribly, and it was completely anti-Semitic. These guys were speaking, they're Israeli-American civilians, citizens. They were in San Jose at an outdoor diner speaking Hebrew when some Jew-hating thugs came out and just started beating the hell out of them horribly. And they're charged with felony assault. Let me play this. This is from News Nation.
Okay, Marcus, thank you. Police in California say 3 men are in custody in connection with that violent assault on 2 Israeli-American men at a popular Santana Row shopping and dining district. This was all caught on video and is being investigated as a possible anti-Semitic hate crime before the suspects then turned themselves in. Jack Mulmud with our station in San Francisco has the latest.
The victims in this case tell me that they were speaking Hebrew to each other when the 3 suspects noticed them and then proceeded to attack them. Witnesses on scene say the suspects also yelled anti-Semitic slurs toward the victims themselves. Despite all this, the district attorney's office tells me there's still not quite enough evidence yet to add on those hate crime charges. We now know the names of the suspects in the case of 2 Israeli men being beaten outside a Santana Row restaurant last week.
Myself and everyone in the DA's office was very concerned with what we saw, a brutal beating in broad daylight at Santana Row.
Santa Clara County District Attorney Jeff Rosen says 32-year-old Brunil Chamaki, 20-year-old Roma Akoyans, and 18-year-old Roman Akoyans turned themselves into San Jose police on Monday morning. The 3 men were allegedly seen in this video that has shaken up the popular shopping center.
At this time, we filed the most serious charges that we can.
Those charges include felony assault with intent to cause bodily.
Radical Islamists. No, despite being witnesses and victims reporting remarks like effing Jews or F Jews, not enough evidence yet of a hate crime. Beating Jews for speaking in Hebrew, for being Jews. Those are terrorists. I'd like to know their status. Are they naturalized citizens? Are they Americans? Or are they people here on a visa? Antifa members convicted on ICE detention shooting. This is good. Here's what happened. This is the other day, but I wanted to hit it because I didn't get a chance to hit it. 9 members of Antifa were convicted in the terror attack on the Prairieland detention facility, which is ICE, in Alvarado, North Texas. Benjamin Song was the leader. He's been convicted of attempted murder. He was the one that was on the land. They were hunting him down. He was the lead Antifa member of the Antifa cell here in North Texas. And they went and showed up on July 4th, shot off fireworks, vandalized, sprayed ice pig on one of the ICE agents, or it's an ICE facility or jail, if you will, for illegals. In Alvarado, they sprayed ice pig. They shot off fireworks. They vandalized the empty guard station, and all in an attempt to draw out ICE to shoot him and kill him. They didn't take the bait. They called 911. Alvarado police officers showed up, was shot right in the neck by Benjamin Song, according to the charges and the conviction. He was convicted of attempted murder of U.S. officers and employees and discharging a firearm in relation to and in furtherance of crime of violence. 7 other accomplices, Texas Scorecard reports, in the incident pleaded guilty last year to providing material support to terrorists. 16 defendants, each facing prison sentences ranging from a minimum of 10 years to life in prison. This is the first big Antifa case, and I couldn't be happier, by the way. They're trying to kill ICE members and terrorize them. July 4th, at least 11 showed up at that Prairieland facility in Alvarado armed with firearms, body armor, military-grade first aid kits for treating gunshot wounds, allegedly dressed in identity-concealing black bloc clothing. Speaking of illegals, speaking of ICE, Texas cracks down, reports the Dallas Express today. I like this. This is good. Texas cracks down. Illegals, aliens to lose barbershop, hairdresser, electrician licenses over new Social Security rule that has been implemented by Ken Paxton. You see, what happened was former Attorney General John Cornyn, gee, I wonder if this was a happenstance. John Cornyn had a ruling that he said no in 2001. His opinion, as then John Cornyn was then the Attorney General, his opinion was no. We can't stop people who are illegal from getting licenses to be hairdressers, barbers, electricians, HVAC technicians. But Ken Paxton overruled then Attorney General John Cornyn's ruling and says, no, we can. It is lawful and legal to say if you want a license to be a hairdresser, a barber, an electrician, or an HVAC technician, you must show that you must have a Social Security number, that you're not illegal, basically. That's a new requirement as of now. And commissioners that are with the Texas Department of Licensing and Regulation say that they might make the policy permanent with a full rollout as soon as March 24th. This is good. There are 18,000 existing licenses. 2% of them are not linked to a Social Security number, meaning they're probably illegal. A 45-year-old illegal hairdresser was asked about this in the Austin American-Statesman, that newspaper there. I'm going to have 2 credentials I'm not going to be able to use. And then Ken Paxton rightfully says this undercuts the wages of American citizens. The Texas Association of Mexican-American Chambers of Commerce says this is an assault on Hispanics. Really? So you're saying there's not Asian, Russian, I mean, you can go on and on, people that are here illegally that are not Hispanic, that are not hairdressers, barbers, electricians, HVAC technicians. For example, how many Asian folks have licenses to be a barber or for doing nails? So, yeah, this is an assault on Hispanics. My butt. It's an assault on anybody who's here illegally. Get out of our country. And thank Joe Biden for this. Here's what the guy from the Mexican-American Chambers of Commerce said. He said if they're going to find out a way, they're going to find a way to do this illegally. They're going to not have a license, but they're going to keep doing it illegally. Well, that's more reason. If you're willing to do stuff that's illegal as you're an illegal, then that's even more reason to make sure you don't have a license. So you committing a crime because I'm policing the law doesn't give you an excuse to break another law. If that's the case, then we should just be afraid of them always. And we don't want this to happen. We don't want that to happen. It's like Iran. Don't do this. They might attack us while they're attacking us or while they're trying to kill our president, etc. One school in Round Rock, a barber school, says more than half the 50 students are now ineligible. Don't be an illegal. This is the Dallas Morning News today. How librarians have adapted to meet the needs of Dallas public library users. They talk about parents bring their children to story time. Librarians say their jobs look different from what people imagine. They find resources in other communities for people. People assume we sit and read books all day, but there's a lot of work behind the scenes they don't realize. One of the librarians says the library is a place to be curious, a place where people can ask any questions and not feel judged. Most of the time, the librarians have an answer, and if not, at least point one out where people can go to get help. And then librarians have always been a community space, but she says that libraries have evolved. The focus on community needs is stronger. I have told you about it, and if I haven't, forgive me. There's a whole thing that libraries do now. For example, I will be shocked if Dallas doesn't have Narcan kits because they allow libraries across America are super woke. Not everybody that's in the libraries or working there are. There's a lot of conservative people doing it. I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is libraries have been taken over overall by leftist woke people. And so they literally have Narcan kits because they have homeless people that live there basically during the day as a day warming shelter, or in this case now coming up a day shelter to keep them cool with air conditioning. They wash in there, they hang out in there, they stink, they might be high, as in Narcan being distributed. I read a whole article on this. There's a guy who's a security expert in library stuff because he's a former law enforcement, and he literally goes to there's library conventions. He wrote a book about security and stuff, and he was banned. He was banned and blacklisted from the library community, the national organizations, because he was telling the truth about the dangers of homelessness affecting people's safety, doing drug overdoses, all sorts of stuff. So they literally banned him. That's the truth about the libraries. They are there for drag queen story hours. Not all of them, I know, not all the people that work there, but they are there for drag queen story hours. They are there for homeless people to live and have overdoses and to be administered Narcan, etc. That's sad because the woke people have destroyed our libraries, which I love, and they're precious. They are precious. Congressman, soon-to-be Congressman Steve Toth, who defeated Dan Crenshaw, which I love, talking about, remember I told you about Gene Wu, a.k.a. Dr. Wu. Gene is the most high-profile Democrat in the Texas legislature, as far as I'm concerned, super woke, crazy leftist, lunatic, whose son, there was a whole expose done in, I believe that was Texas Scorecard, or was it Dallas Express? I get too confused. About his son with, I think it was Dallas Express actually, his son is raising a lot of hell, is accused of bringing a 10-inch knife to class, and is accused of bullying children, being horrible to children, seemingly violent actions, throwing scissors, other stuff, going after teachers, at least verbally, all sorts of things. He's like terrorizing the school, and teachers have said they're afraid to report stuff because of his dad. And this is at a private school. Gene Wu is against. He voted against allowing. Boy, was he a super lunatic when they fled to Washington D.C. to avoid a quorum. He beclowned himself there, but he. Well, let me share this with you from Steve Toth. This is very good. But anyways, he's not there for his children apparently a lot. He's said that, and so now he's got this kid who was able to get away with everything. Oh, Gene Wu has voted always to be against school choice and vouchers, even though his own sons go to private schools. That is exactly the blueprint for leftists. But in 2021, Steve Toth says, when I passed the initial ban on critical race theory in Texas classrooms, many of the House and Senate members had never heard of CRT, critical race theory. So I brought each of them a book, and it was being read in Texas elementary schools, called Not My Idea, a book about whiteness. What the heck? The book literally depicts a child as a white devil who opposes children of color. Gene Wu, in his arrogance, put out a post on his social media reading the book to his young children. This is the blowback from years of infusing his hatred into the hearts and minds of our children. It has spawned an explosion of violence in classrooms and across the U.S. and needs to stop. He was referencing Gene's son. One of his sons, according to the report I read yesterday, Gene talked about he came home and his son was at the top of the stairs and says, "Are you home for good now?" That was what he said in interviews. Like, he's never home apparently. So this is what happens. Just go after our kids and try to brainwash our kids. Don't worry about your house, Gene. This is on the SAVE Act from NBC News. The left calling it Jim Crow, but that message, NBC News, of all places, reports, is increasingly falling flat with the American public, including black voters, as photo IDs are increasingly required for common activities like flying. A Pew Research Center poll in August showed that 83% of Americans support requiring all voters to show government-issued photo ID to vote. That's up from 77% in 2012. So it went from 77 to 83 as of now. Support now includes 71% of self-identified Democrats, 83% of Republicans, 76% of black voters. It kind of feels like the only Americans not supporting voter ID are the Democrats here in Congress, said John Thune. I love that. I love that. I absolutely love that. Bill Malugin, Fox News. One could argue that Democrats have already secured before we get into ICE, this is what I want to do. This is Ted Lieu, liberal Democrat from California, crazy liberal Democrat. Here he is saying that the SAVE Act and voter ID, how bad it is.
Undocumented immigrants voting in elections, that is an infinitesimal problem. Just go and research on the internet. It is so small. And why is that? Because undocumented immigrants want nothing to do with the government. Because, again, to vote, not only do you have to vote, you have to first register. How many undocumented immigrants can go, yes, I'm going to give all my information to the government that's trying to maybe deport me? No way. Undocumented immigrants just aren't going to register to vote. And if you don't register to vote...
Well, let's see about that, Congressman Lieu. Let's see. This was just in the news in Houston.
National now faces federal charges after he's accused of illegally voting in the 2024 general election. And
She says a British national, by the way. Ted Lieu said what?
British national now faces federal charges after he's accused of illegally voting in the 2024 general election in Harris County, despite not being a U.S. citizen. ABC 13's Sarah Al-Sheikh looked into how he was able to get registered in the first place. New at 10.
Federal investigators say a British man knowingly broke U.S. election law. According to court documents, Samuel James Hall, described as a non-U.S. citizen, is accused of voting in the 2024 general election, casting a ballot in races for president, vice president, Senate, and the House of Representatives, despite allegedly knowing he was not eligible to vote. The Harris County Tax Assessor, Collector, and Voter Registrar's Office tells ABC 13 it first learned Hall was on the voter rolls last June, 7 months after the election. Officials say they notified him and that Hall then canceled his own registration. The registrar says he was removed from the voter rolls and is not currently registered to vote in Harris County. Writing in a statement, quote, "As this is an ongoing investigation, we are unable to share more at this time and remain committed to ensuring that the voter registration rolls are up to date and that only eligible citizens are enrolled and part of the process."
So I'm sorry, what did Ted Lieu say today, huh?
Undocumented immigrants voting in elections, that is an infinitesimal problem. Just go and research on the internet. It is so small. And why is that? Because undocumented immigrants want nothing to do with the government.
Except for a dude from Britain in Houston just yesterday. This came in from Bill Malugin, Fox News. One could argue, this is about ICE, one could argue Democrats have already secured a handful of wins for their base on DHS. Christie Noma's out. Pavino has been reassigned, will reportedly retire. Roving patrols are over. Minnesota operation is over. Things have calmed down since Holman took over. Republicans are highly unlikely to budge on Democrats' demands of judicial warrants unmasking agents, especially judicial warrants. That would make it next to impossible to deport anybody. They're using administrative warrants. There's no reason to ever do the judicial warrant. That means it'll make it almost possible to deport almost everybody. It's a complete non-starter, and everybody knows it. Will be interesting, Bill Malugin says, to see how far Dems keep pushing, as it looks like DHS may push a bit of a reset button with Senator Mullen coming in to lead the agency and now Holman calling the shots. But yet they're still shutting down our government and having lines everywhere out the wazoo at Austin, Bergstrom, and Houston. I think it's Hobby, and all over the country. Atlanta, Hartsfield, Jackson today. Anyway, so there was Ted Lieu. That was fun. Let's do this. I'm going to hop to this. We're going to kind of close out with something, a couple of fun stuff. What can and can't I recycle from the Dallas Morning News today? This is great. This is like the ongoing debate with my wife and I. What can be recycled? What can't? When you have an aluminum foil or parchment paper with the strip on there with the sharp cutting strip there, that can stay attached because that's recyclable. Labels on glass jars can stay attached, obviously, to me. I knew that one. Residents don't need to prep the item further than simply emptying and rinsing. My wife is a Nazi about rinsing the bottles. I'm like, come on. What can't be recycled? This is the moron list. I cannot tell you how many times I've told my family, stop putting plastic bags, and they still keep making their way in there. Plastic bags, plastic wrap cannot be. Styrofoam containers, packing foam cannot. Disposable coffee cups. That's the Captain Stupid Award right there. Disposable coffee cups. Food soiled containers such as greasy pizza boxes or containers with leftover food. Chip bags, straws, foam packaging. Electronics. Who puts electronics in the recycling freaking bin or box or whatever? Garden hoses. Who in God's name would do that? What is wrong with you people? Canadian Drag Queen Theater announces star-studded Drag for Palestine fundraiser. Don't tell the Canadian drag queens they'll be thrown off a building and killed if they're actually in Gaza. Uber co-founder Travis Kalanick, I don't know how to pronounce his name. I mentioned this yesterday, but I didn't know he moved to Austin. The Dallas Express had this today, so now I know where he moved to. He dodges a $180 million California wealth tax with timely Austin move. Uber co-founder Travis Kalanick said he moved to Austin just weeks before California wealth tax could take effect. He could have lost $180 million with that one-time 5% tax that they want to put on billionaires. Fox Business reported. He is Uber. He's the Uber founder. He partners with Waymo. Waymo is horrible. I don't want any of this self-propelling, self-driving places. Look, one viral video shows a Waymo blocking an ambulance responding to the deadly 6th Street shooting in downtown Austin, March 1st. A police officer jumped into the vehicle to move it out of the way. Never do I want that. Imagine your mom or dad or you dying or your wife dying because the Waymo is blocking. Earlier this year, Dallas Express reported the National Transportation Safety Board launched an investigation after videos captured Waymo speeding past stopped school buses in Austin. Are you getting the picture? No. Here's a little bit more if you want to get a real picture. This is really scary. This is the video of a Tesla on autopilot. I think it hit a car or something, and then watch what happened after that. Watch this. This is very scary. Can you imagine that? That's terrifying. There was somebody in there, too, I think. Obviously. Baywatch actress, I don't think I pulled a picture of this one for you, but you just have to let your mind wander. Baywatch actress Alexandra Paul arrested in Wisconsin Beagle rescue. Baywatch actress Alexandra Paul arrested in Wisconsin Beagle rescue. She went from Baywatch to stealing beagles. I repeat, she went from being an actress in Baywatch to now stealing beagles in Wisconsin. Quite a transition. Remarkable. Pokemon Go players unknowingly contributed 30 billion images to train delivery robots. Can you imagine this? You did all these Pokemon Go things. Now they're using all the photos you did for robots, for delivery robots for food and groceries, putting perhaps you or your loved one or friend out of a job. I'm telling you right now. Wow. Well, this show is brought to you by IRSprob.com. That's IRSPROB.com, or as Randy likes to say it, IRSPROB.com, helping good people with IRS problems, specializing in IRS controversy, IRS audits, and tax planning strategies. If you, what you do is you call Randy Martin at IRSprob.com. They're right here in Dallas-Fort Worth, local in North Dallas. You go to IRSprob.com or just call 214-214-3000, 214-214-3000, and tell them that Chris